I tested 3 different aftermarket ECUs back to back on my Kove 450 Rally on the same dyno, on the same day, with the same Scalvini titanium decat exhaust. One of them made 45.76 wheel horsepower, which works out at about 50.8 brake horsepower at the crank, but the interesting bit isn't the number, it's which ECU actually won and why. This wasn't a stock versus tune test. For those, please see some of my earlier videos. All 3 of these ECUs are aftermarket, and all of them basically claim to be the one to have. So I wanted to test them properly and see what actually happens on the dyno when everything else stays the same. The bike, of course, is my trusty Kove 450 Rally, which now has a Scalvini titanium exhaust pipe and no catalytic converter. So this is the same bike on the same dyno on the same day. The only changes we made were the ECUs themselves and then one final baffle out test at the end. The dyno at Big CC Racing reads wheel horsepower, not crank horsepower. So the crank number, I'm using a simple 10% drivetrain loss calculation. That gives us a fair and consistent comparison across all the runs. The 230.1 ECU put down a best run of 41.10 wheel horsepower, which works out to about 45.7 brake horsepower at the crank using that 10% drivetrain loss. If you look at the curve, it's actually pretty clean and stable all the way through, which is what you want, but it's just not making as much power as the other ECUs that we'll see in a minute or two. Once the AFR settles, we had some trouble getting the probe into the exhaust with the baffle in place. It's sitting around 11.5, so it's running ever so slightly on the rich side under load, which is great for safety and consistency, but it does mean it's not quite as optimised for peak performance. So there's nothing wrong with it as such, it's just leaving a bit of power on the table compared to what the bike is capable of with the same hardware. Before we move on to the next ECU, just a quick thank you to the sponsor of this video, Bikesure Insurance. If you're anything like me and you've got a bike that's not exactly standard anymore, things like aftermarket exhausts, ECU upgrades or other mods, it's actually really important that your insurance properly reflects that. The reason that matters so much is that if you ever need to make a claim, you want to be sure that your policy actually covers the bike as it is now, not how it left the factory. That's what I really like about Bikesure. They specialise in modified bikes, so you're not trying to squeeze a non-standard setup into a generic policy that doesn't really fit. When I was sorting mine, they were genuinely really helpful in finding the right cover for my bike and the way I use it. On top of all that, they offered a really competitive price as well. With builds like this, when you're changing fueling and exhaust flow, it just makes sense to make sure you're properly covered for what you're actually riding and where you're riding. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to check them out or get a quote. Right, let's get back to the dyno and see what the next ECU does. So that's the Coober ECU, and straight away you can see an improvement over the previous run. The best result here was a 43.19 wheel horsepower, which works out to about 48 brake horsepower at the crank using the same 10% drivetrain loss. Looking at the curve, it's not just the peak that's improved, it's stronger right the way through the mid-range as well. So this is the kind of gain you'd actually feel when you're riding the bike, and you absolutely do. The interesting part is the air-fuel ratio. Once it settles, again with the probe being difficult to get into the exhaust, it's sitting around exactly 13.03 to 13.27, which is spot on for making power under load. So compared to the 230.1 ECU, this is clearly doing a better job of optimizing fueling. It's still stable, it's still smooth, but it's just extracting more from the same setup with this exhaust. The Gap Workshop. Is it? Last but by no means least, the Gap Workshop ECU, and this is where things really start to come together. On this setup, the best run was 45.76 wheel horsepower, which works out at about 50.8 brake horsepower at the crank using the same 10% drivetrain loss. Compared to the previous ECUs, you can see this is not just a bigger peak number, the whole curve is stronger and smoother right the way through, especially in the mid-range, so this is exactly the kind of gain you'd feel on the bike. Looking at the AFR, once it settles again, it's sitting at around 13.29 to 13.43, which is still right in the ideal window for making power under load. So what this is doing is taking that already good fueling we saw on the Coober and just refining it further. It's stable, it's consistent, and extracting the most out of this setup with this Scalvini exhaust. And that's why it ends up being the strongest result of the three on this test. For the purposes of science, we decided to run the Gap Workshop ECU again, but this time with the exhaust baffle removed. The best run here was 45.03 wheel horsepower, which works out to about 50 brake horsepower at the crank using the same 10% drivetrain loss. Compared to the previous run with the baffle fitted, there's no meaningful difference. The peak is very slightly lower and the overall curve is almost identical, so there's no extra top-end gain or change in how the power is delivered. It's also worth noting that at this point, the bike was pretty heat-soaked because we didn't let it cool down after the first Gap run. So if anything, that could explain that small drop in peak power. Looking at the AFR, it's sitting around 13.08 to 13.32, so it's still right in that ideal window for making power, and just as stable as before. And interestingly, it wasn't noticeably louder with the baffle removed either, which suggests it's probably not doing a great deal in terms of flow or restriction. So the takeaway here is pretty simple. Removing the baffle doesn't really unlock anything. It's essentially the same result, which shows the ECU is doing the work here, not the baffle. Looking at all three ECUs, side by side, the Gap Workshop ECU comes out on top, on paper, for this setup at least. It made the highest peak power, which is about 50.8 brake horsepower at the crank, but more importantly, it delivered the strongest and smoothest power curve overall, especially through the mid-range. All three ECUs are essentially safe to run on this setup. The AFR in all of them settles in a stable range under load, so none of them are doing anything risky or unpredictable. It's just a question of how efficiently they're using the same hardware. The 230.1 ECU is clearly the most conservative of the three. It runs a bit richer, which is fine for reliability, but it does leave some power on the table with this setup. I do think that ECU would likely perform better with something like the Kove Pro exhaust, which is more free-flowing, but that system is also very loud compared to the Scalvini that I'm running here. The Coober sits right in the middle. It's really nice, it's a balanced setup, strong gains over the 230.1, but with the AFR bang on, it's a solid all-round option and one that I've been running with my previous exhaust setup for some time. The Gap Workshop ECU just takes that a step further. It's still stable, still safe, but it's extracting a little bit more from the same setup. That's why it ends up being the strongest result here. The only caveat I've noticed so far is that the on-off throttle at low RPM is a bit more noticeable on the Gap ECU compared to the Coober. So it'll be interesting to see how that develops through real riding conditions. And that's exactly what I'm going to do next. I'm taking both the Coober and the Gap Workshop ECUs off-road to see how these dyno results actually translate on the trail. So if you want to see that, make sure you're subscribed.